Thanks, Soren, and thanks everybody for joining to talk about our safety audit process driven with artificial intelligence. Basically, I'll try to walk through this at a generic level. Obviously, I'll talk about Praxy in the context of it, but really try to talk about the overall issue and the process and how artificial intelligence can help the team communicate, et cetera. As Soren mentioned, I sold a company and then spent a number of years at SAP, where I ran their Internet of Things, which was all connected with the Industry 4.0 and their Leonardo and a lot of the new applications that are coming out of SAP. And the interesting thing was every shop that I went to, I saw this kind of a thing where there was lots and lots of PowerPoints and Excel sheets and whiteboards trying to run their digital transformation, process improvement, and lots of core processes. Schedulings are very common to be run in spreadsheets, et cetera. So we created Praxy to really drive digital manufacturing excellence through digital transformation using artificial intelligence. And basically, we can take companies from this sort of analog or digital paper state to a really digital process where all of the best practices and their lean methodologies are covered. We're going to talk today specifically about safety and safety audits. What most manufacturers that I've seen have is more this picture on the left, where you have some core applications, your MES or ERP, quality maybe, warehouse, and then lots and lots of Excel sheets and connectors and disconnected processes, which are hard to roll up, very labor intensive. I was on the phone yesterday with a manufacturer who said they have, a dozen or so regional managers or group managers who are basically rolling up spreadsheets all day. That's their job. And so it's a huge waste of their time. They could be out coaching, doing the things that really matter to change the culture of the organization, but they spend a huge amount of time rolling up these spreadsheets. What we built in Praxy, and you can use Praxy, and if you can find another application to do this, it's a good choice. The idea is to get digital. What we do is we'll talk with the core applications there on the bottom, your databases, machine data, and then everything rolls up into a no-code application environment where we build out the best practices, Lean, Six Sigma, whatever you need as part of your process improvement. And today, as I mentioned, I'm going to show you artificially intelligent safety audit process. You can check this out as well. The types of improvements, depending on the process, range from 5 to 25%, et cetera. You can reduce waste, all kinds of great processes. I actually went and asked Bard last week, what will AI improve over standard digitization projects if you add AI into it? And it was interesting. It basically said anywhere between 5 and 15% additional productivity gain or cost reductions, et cetera. So I thought it was an interesting stat that I wanted to share with you today. When you look at safety audits, we also, by the way, have a management system for incidents and tracking OSHA recordables and all that kind of stuff as well. But this was I don't know exactly when this happened, but there was a spill in a Georgia plant, which there was a loss of life, and the federal investigators found that it was a bent tube that caused the spillage, and it was totally preventable. And safety audits and best practices really have not only an opportunity to make the entire environment better, but really save lives, et cetera. So, what are the safety audit processes that really can drive this thing forward? One is evaluate your safety practices and establish an audit framework. One of the core things about process improvement that's interesting is that it involves the people change, which is honestly the hardest part. And that happens by getting the people involved in the process. Soren is a PhD in organizational psychology, and he taught me this basic tenet, which is people support what they help create. So one of the things we can do with our platform is we can define an audit form and process. I'll show you an example, but we can define that to exactly how your group wants to work. And by doing that in concert with the workers and the line workers, they feel part of the process. It also helps with morale, that they think you're trying to take care of them, all those kinds of things that matter to people. So evaluate your processes and define your own framework. Form and train an audit team. And if the managers don't run these audits, the people will not do the safety issues. So the audit process is critical for the change. Conduct pilot audits, get people to understand it, build a training regimen. We also have learning management where we can track, how many of those folks are up to speed on these different lean processes. And then utilize AI and other processes for pinpointing safety issues. We're going to show you how AI can assist the project action plan in summarizing and providing real visibility into what is found through the audits. The benefits of doing safety audits I think, are obvious and core to how most of us want to run our plants. First and foremost is human safety, people being safe at the job, cost avoidance, lawsuits, those kinds of things, regulatory fine avoidance. I mean, it can literally put people out of business. I was at one of our customers last week, and they were talking about, their plant is right beside a river. And if they had a spill that went into the river, their business would be gone. Like the cost of that, the lawsuits would basically destroy the business. So beyond the safety aspects, making sure that literally the business can be in danger. It should improve OEE, your OEE metrics, because everybody's working in a way that's more efficient and less dangerous. And morale and productivity of the team, those are big items as well. The biggest challenges are, as I mentioned, the people aspects, ineffective safety culture. Audits are a lot cheaper than all those other things. So, making this change is really important and critical. Resistance to change, again, the people, and addressing skepticism, getting them involved early, helping to define the process and to define the forms. And I'll show you examples of our forms here in a second. And then sustaining the improvement, getting the training, getting the managers to actually do the audits. It sounds simple, but often if the executive managers don't look at the trends in the audits, which I'll show you, and it becomes, from an executive management or plant manager standpoint, isn't part of the culture, it doesn't happen. And then remove constraints, find time for the resources on a daily basis to do the core audits, or weekly basis, however you set it up, so that it becomes part of the daily routines or the weekly routines in the plant, so that there's time and culture to do it. And the other thing that is critical about getting digital and digitizing everything is the reality is that AI is probably going to be one of the biggest transformations in our lifetime. Could be as big as the internet itself has been, and all of us who are pre-internet understand the impact of what the internet means in our lives. And AI can do that, probably be that kind of impact as well from a productivity standpoint. And the reality is, if you're not digital, if you're running, your Kanban boards on paper, and you have Excel sheets out there that are, people are using pencils on whiteboards, you can't take advantage of AI. You have to go digital. So it's critical to do that. And then to provide the AI value at the point of work. So I'll show you an example of how that helps people. So the idea is to be a co-pilot. So the AI is helping your workers, improving their productivity, letting them focus on the human parts, which are very, very difficult to get the change management going. And the more your managers can spend their time doing that versus filling in spreadsheets or analyzing the data, the better. So with that, I'll stop and show you a demonstration of our safety audit powered by artificial intelligence. So I'm jumping into Praxy, and we have lots and lots of different applications and lean best practices, and can design these to your exact specifications. I'm going to show you our safety audit process. And again, everything is completely designable to how you might want to use it. But in a safety audit, you do the audits, you view the scores and trends, and then you can generate executive summary and even action plans. So the way it works generally is you can come in here and generate a new audit, and those audits can be set up into whatever stage gate you want. Generally, planning, in process, completed, whatever sort of stage gate process you want. When you generate the audit, what happens is it'll generate the form, and in this form, you can select who the auditor is, the area you're going to audit, the date, and this is being pulled from the phase gate it's in. You can see it's assigned. So at that point, you have all of these different areas of safety audit that you want to audit, and you can go in here and you'll see I can't make any changes to these. These are designed into the fundamental template that generally would be configured to exactly how you want to manage this in your organization. And then on the right, you can score, from 1 to 5, whether you're in good shape down to bad shape. And the ones are the ones that are in bad shape. And you can see here, PPE needs to be restocked. There are nails found, and these are all editable. So this is as you're doing the audit, you can go through the edit, and then you can score the area, and that generates the score for this general area. Then you go to equipment, are all the machines and equipment properly guarded? lockout targets, procedures in place and followed, et cetera. And then you score each of them and you put the information in. Same with materials. Are you storing materials effectively? Lifting techniques are right. Forklifts are being used correctly, et cetera, et cetera. And as you go through, and all of these links and the structure of the form and what data you want to capture is all completely configurable. And I'll just quickly show you how we do that. But you want to make sure whatever tool you choose, whether it's Praxy or somebody else, has the ability to really design this to your specifications. Our system allows us to build this and whatever information and forms you want and add those, additional records, et cetera, to whatever specifications you guys want. I'll get out of that and come back to the app itself. So now I've gone through each of these areas. I've gone to hazardous materials. I've gone to emergencies, et cetera. I've gone after I've gone through the entire audit, what happens is it will go through and generate a summary. And what it does, this is where AI comes in. It goes through and generates a summary on all of the number ones. So if I went here and I made this a number one and I said, lock out procedures are not followed. Let me just quickly do that. Are not followed regularly. I'll just say not followed, it's fine. Okay, so that should, in the summary, if I click this, now this will take 20 seconds. The current AI models take about 20 seconds. Google and others have released newer models. This is going to take generally about 1 second. We'll be upgrading in the next few weeks. So generally this will take 1 to 5 seconds to go do and generate the summary. And now you can see that the summary has been updated and generated. And it will, if we go through this, it'll talk about the lockout issues, et cetera. So the summary then generates from all of those number ones. So you have an executive summary of the last audit, and anybody can read this. So instead of a human going in and trying to figure out, here, we have these 4 or 5 things we need to work on, et cetera, it will generate this. Then you can go in here and edit this if you'd like. And then from there, you can go and it will generate and create a list of tasks from all of the summary items in number one. So replace spill kits, put hazardous materials, et cetera. And what you can do now is you can go in and create timelines to do these things. You can then assign users, they get notified via email, and all of these actions show up in their to-do list for taking action. If you're using BI or other things to try to do this, the full loop from the audit to the summary and issues that you need to address to the action management is completely covered in this process. And often I see in manufacturing plants, they'll have some sort of dashboards, and then to manage the issue, they send an email. And so that creates a disconnect between the process improvement loop, plan, do, act, all the standard best practices are not covered in the solution that generally is available. So that walks you through how that works. And then the last thing that AI does for us is it will go generate an executive summary based on all of the existing audits. So it'll say, these are the issues that have happened. Here's the common problems that we found, et cetera. So you can create and identify general trends that are going on in your audits that are available to this. Now you can archive them so they are no longer, once something is handled, so they're no longer captured in the executive summary. But that's the process. You generate the audit, the manager does the audit, they generate the summaries of those. Those summaries then can be used to generate actions. They manage those actions. And then finally, you can have an executive view for the executive leadership or plant manager so they can see what's going on in the safety audits and that things are being taken care of. You can also see a roll-up of all the tasks across all safety audits. So that's how the audit process works. Again, you basically can have multiple audits. And I think Soren will make this available to folks if they want access to the presentation here. You'll have the ability to score. Any low scores will get brought into the executive summary, and those executive summaries can generate an action plan that can be tracked, and notifications go out to the entire team. And so, back to Praxy, this is how we do it. Again, the idea behind these webinars is to just inform, and the idea is that you find a solution that does this for you. We have a whole suite of solutions that we can work with from Kaizen and all kinds of lean processes and Six Sigma and and standard sort of work order processes as well. And everything rolls up into nice, what they call obeya rooms or command centers. So I'll pause now and take any questions or any comments you guys have, and we'll finish out with some questions.
And there is a question. One of the questions is about Kaizen and how it's it requires a holistic view of ownership across all hierarchies to be successful. And so I think the question is from a continuous improvement standpoint, how can AI be blended with Kaizen along with other safety aspects like 5S to support and accelerate that process? I know that that's not exactly what you talked about here, but it actually does connect to the continuous improvement concepts. So any thoughts on that?
Yeah, so Kaizen, we have a Kaizen management system as well. This one has not been has the AI workflow has not been added to this yet. We're adding it weekly. We're adding about an app every week in our portfolio. It's very fast for us to do, but the same sort of methodologies apply from taking the issues and we actually have an example where we do something quite similar in innovation management where there's an AI-enabled brainstorming app that will basically take issues and things you're trying to address and then go out and look across the internet of how other people have addressed this. So in a Kaizen standpoint, the same sort of methodologies can be applied to take the problems and issues across those different areas, use the AI as a co-pilot to help you identify optimizations that are best practices across the world. And then you can generate multiple actions that bring in the different team members across the action management. And so from that standpoint, any one of our solutions has action timelines. And what this is an example of rolling up those different, these could be Kaizens, these could be 5S, they could be safety audits, they could be Gemba walks. And each of the action items can be rolled up across multiple. And in fact, you can take this full screen and see a large number of projects. And these can be filtered by the types of projects. So you might only want to see your Gemba walks or your 5S, et cetera, or you might want to see them all mixed. But it allows you to evaluate, and we can roll these up across different types of projects. You can see the overall status, the priority, the timelines, et cetera. So to answer your question, I think the core is getting the teams involved and creating a process and that culture, whether that was be Kaizen or 5S, et cetera, that deal with doing the analysis, getting the action items, and then tracking the execution of those and the outcome of that execution. One of the things I actually forgot to show in the 5S audit, in the safety audit, I think it's here, is that everything then goes to a dashboard where you're tracking, like how, in this case, how many audits how many audits are we doing? Where are they assigned? But the most important thing is what's our score? And you can see this is all December because these are just been put in. But what'll trend is over 2024, you'll see the trend of your overall score, and it should be going up. So your safety audits are showing you're good, or your 5S audits, or your Gemba walks are improving. And so all of that rolls into an overall executive type of dashboard environment where each of these items are being rolled up and trended and worked on so that you know that the work you're doing across the organization is taking hold culturally, but ultimately taking hold in the metrics that you're trying to drive.
We have one other question just around how the specific app that you just shared around safety audits might produce a schedule based on the priority. Obviously, certain items you might find in your safety audit would be more urgent or risk, have a higher risk profile than others. And so what would be the best approach to look at a kind of action plan for that?
That's a good question. Maybe I wasn't clear on some of these things. So the summary generates the action list. And so what you can do is you can edit the summary to only contain the things that you believe are your top priorities. And I would suggest that because you may decide that you as a team, you can only handle 4 or 5 things that you can go work on, or maybe less. And so you can see it generated 10 or 11 action items, which may be more than you can handle. You can also go in here and delete these or reprioritize them can see you can move them around and set your priorities up and set your timelines up so that those timelines reflect what you believe you can achieve on those items. So it's all editable to what you believe. And as a manager, I would edit the summary, it generates your action list, and then I would edit the action list, and you're off to the races. And that's important because this summary will also get rolled up into your executive summary. So the idea here is that you have a standard tool to do the audits, which is terrific because you can get your overall trending and scores and all that kind of stuff. But then you have the AI that will help you assess what's going on, give you ideas about things you can do, and really improve every one of us only knows what we know. And so to have an engine that goes out to the internet and looks at all the best practices that are out there and say, hey, have you tried this, is great for any of us. And so the idea, I think, is to edit the summary and then edit the actions and prioritize them based on what you believe are the priorities in your plans and what you can actually handle in a time frame of relevance.
And a couple final questions here, and then we will wrap. One other question is around audit reports and how customizable, if let's say you have your own template or you have your own format in your plant that you want to have a report, how can you deal with that? And then also, what about exporting data into Microsoft Project or other tools?
Yeah, so everything you see here, and I think in any one of these records is completely designable to. Let me get back to the audit here, the AI-powered safety audit. Everything you see, every form, every element is completely designable to exactly what you want to see. So the audit, what questions you ask, how you want to score it, everything completely designable. We can go from start to finish on something like this in just a few weeks. We take 1 hour a week to work with you on the design, and within 3 weeks, this thing will all be done. And once this is done, any of the fields in the system are available to our reporting engine. So we put together, a very simple dashboard for this, which is, how many am I doing and where are they and what stage, and then what's my trend. But if you wanted, for instance, to see or filter for, I want to see all of the safety audits in a particular location or done by a particular manager, anything you want, as long as the data is in the safety audit form that we designed for you, we can roll it up any way you want. It's incredibly flexible.
Great. Well, thank you. I think we have covered all of the questions. So thank you everyone for joining us for our webinar. We will send out this recording and invite you to future webinars as well, because we're constantly innovating the digital manufacturing process. So thanks very much. And
happy holidays, everybody.